2018 was a great year for tech. I've never had this much fun ever before. Even in the budget sector, you can get really cheap devices that also look really good. So in this video we'll be focusing on the best budget devices and my favorite devices overall this year. So at number 6 and number 5 we have the Nova 3 and the Nova 3i. The Nova 3 and the Nova 3i are both really great phones. The Nova 3 has pretty much top of the line specs, a really high-end processor, the Kirin 970, and a great camera. For the price, this phone is really amazing. The UI is very smooth and snappy, and overall there isn't any major flaw in the phone. The build quality is really good, the frame is made of metal, and the back is made of glass, so it's on par with much higher end phones. The only downside in the phone is that the notch is bigger than most phones. But considering it doesn't cost as much as bigger phones, I don't think that's much of a problem. In this price you get a really solid device that's good enough for at least 2 years. The Nova 3i is pretty much a slightly lesser version of the Nova 3. It retains the same awesome build quality, but the only difference is that it has a mid-range Kirin 710. Although the Kirin 710 is a really good processor, it's obviously not as snappy as the 970. But still, regarding the price, this is a really great bang for your buck device. Both of these phones come in many different colors, so you get one that truly matches your personality. At number 4 we have the cheapest phone in this list, and it's the Xiaomi Redmi Note 6 Pro. The Note 6 Pro is the best phone you can get at the least price. It's a really solid device with solid performance and a surprisingly great camera. The Snapdragon 636 is a great processor, and overall the performance in this phone is really good. This phone comes with MIUI 10, and Xiaomi's gesture navigation makes this phone feel really responsive. It's more responsive than phone twice its price. However, with all budget phones there are gonna be some drawbacks, and with this phone you don't get as good build quality and the bezels are really big. But again, considering the price of the phone, I don't think you will mind those things that much. All in all, the Redmi Note 6 Pro gives solid performance, and basically if you are on a very strict budget, then this is the phone you should get. It's very cheap and it's very good. At number 3 we have a relatively new phone. This has just been released and I've been really enjoying it. It's the Honor 10 Lite. The Honor 10 Lite has pretty similar specs to the Nova 3i, but the bezels are much smaller. The good thing in this phone is that the design is very modern. There is only a camera cutout instead of a notch. The big difference between this and the Nova 3i is that this comes with 3GB of RAM and the build quality is not as good as the 3i. The frame and the back are both made of plastic, but even though it's plastic, it's still a very trendy design. But one upgrade over the 3i is that it comes pre-installed with Android 9. And like Xiaomi's gestures, Honor's gesture navigation makes this phone feel really responsive and more faster than the 3i. The camera is pretty decent, but it's not as good as the 3i's camera. But still, it's pretty decent considering the price. This phone costs only slightly more than the Redmi Note 6 Pro. But for slightly more cash, you get a much better design and much smaller bezels. So all in all, considering the price of this phone, it's pretty amazing. At number 2, the device we have is my second favorite device of the entire year, and it's the Vivo V11 Pro. To be honest, I'm a little bit surprised that this phone only costs this much. For this price, it's a really great deal. No other phone in this price, or even more price than this, is giving an AMOLED display and an in-display fingerprint sensor. The display in this phone is absolutely amazing. It's one of the best, and again really nothing comes close in this price. This phone also has the smallest bezels in the list. There's only a camera cutout and the chin is also really small. The in-display fingerprint sensor isn't very fast, and newer phones do have better fingerprint sensors. But the face unlock is one of the quickest I've ever used. And before your finger reaches the screen, the phone is already unlocked, so it's not much of a problem. The only downgrade in this phone is that the build quality isn't as good as other phones. It's entirely made of plastic, and it doesn't feel as premium as something like the Nova 3. The Snapdragon 660 gives really great performance, and still it is my second favorite device of the year, so that should tell you something. No other phone gives a display as awesome as this, bezels as smaller as this, or an in-display fingerprint sensor at this price. Before we talk about the number 1 device, there are some honorable mentions that I want to talk about. So in these we have the P20 Lite, This was a really good phone, but this is pretty much succeeded by the Nova 3i. But I just wanted to mention this because I really enjoyed using this. And then we have the Oppo A7. This didn't have the best display or the best performance or best anything. But one thing that this phone did have was the best battery I've ever used. This phone had a 40 to 30 mAh battery on a 720p display. Even when talking about high-end phones, nothing really comes close. And then finally, at number 1, this isn't really a surprise, it's the Poco phone. Poco phone's main feature and pretty much why it's on the list is its processor. It has a Snapdragon 845 with 6GB of RAM. Snapdragon 845 is a very high-end processor that's also in pretty much every big high-end phone of the year. So you are essentially getting a similar experience as the Note 9 in a fraction of the price. I had many problems with the launcher on the Note 6 Pro, but the Poco phone pretty much solves most of my complaints. The Poco phone launcher is what MIUI has been missing for years. Finally, there is more customization. Well, firstly there's an app drawer, so everything is now more organized. There's dark mode that's much more comfortable for your eyes, and finally you can install a custom icon pack. All of this while retaining the awesome responsiveness of Xiaomi's gestures. This phone is an absolute delight to use. It's so fast and responsive. However, since this is also a budget phone, there are also some downgrades. Mainly, I'm not very happy with the body. It's completely plastic and the bezels are really thick. But if you can get over that, I think you should check out this phone. The camera is actually good, and just overall this phone is one of the best phones you can get. And the best phone you can get at this price, period. And those were the phones, those were the devices that I enjoyed the most in the entire year. I hope that helped you. If you like this video, then please like and share and subscribe and all that stuff.